There was a terror attack in Manchester last night. It was at an Ariana Grande concert. And the facts here are just absolutely gut-wrenching. So as of right now, as of this recording, 22 people are dead. Last night, the number was 19, and that ticked up. Some people were taken to the hospital, many people with life-threatening injuries, and some of them indeed lost their life. I wouldn't be surprised if that 22 casualty number rises more as time goes by. Here's what the New York Times says about this. The Islamic State claimed responsibility on Tuesday for the bombing at Manchester Arena, the deadliest terrorist assault in Britain since 2005, as the death toll rose to 22. The bomb tore through an entrance hall of the 21,000-seat Manchester Arena at about 10:30 p.m. on Monday as a concert by the American pop star Ariana Grande was ending and as crowds of teenagers had begun to leave, many from an adjacent train station. The pandemonium ensued as panicked adolescents struggled to connect with parents and guardians waiting outside to pick them up. As well as those killed, dozens of other people were wounded in the attack. 59 were hospitalized, some with life-threatening injuries. The police said that they were canvassing leads and poring over surveillance footage to determine if the assailant, who died in the assault, had acted with any accomplices. Shortly before noon on Tuesday, the police announced that they had arrested a 23-year-old man southwest of the city center with regards to last night's incident, but they did not provide additional details. Okay, so CBS News has the most gut-wrenching fact about this. They reported late last night that it's confirmed that many of the 22 who are dead are indeed a group of young girls, a group of girls who are, teenagers. So this is as disgusting as it gets. It's the worst kind of an attack. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw this number increase in terms of the dead. Now, they weren't sure. Originally, they thought it was a suicide bomber. Then all the articles started saying it was an actual bomb. When ISIS claimed responsibility, they said it was a bomb, it was a device. But then there's also articles that talk about how they've picked up the pieces of the person who did the bombing. So there's a little bit of confusion as to whether it was a suicide bomber or whether it was an improvised explosive device, a bomb that they left there and then walked away. But either way, the evidence thus far and the fact that ISIS takes responsibility points to this being terrorism. And a lot of people last night on Twitter were expressing shock and awe, of course, but also just confusion over the idea that, well, why would you target an Ariana Grande concert? Like, of all the places to target, it's not like, hey, we're going to get revenge against the Crusaders and the imperialists who are on our lands, and so we're going to go attack in an area where the army is, for example. No, they didn't. They attacked an Ariana Grande concert. And there's actually there's a simple explanation for that. In our Ariana Grande concert, what you have is a young pop star who, many of the songs have sexual undertones and sexual innuendo, and to Muslim fundamentalists, to terrorists, they look at that as a symbol of the decadence of the West and the opulence and, the immorality of the West. They look at that and they see, well, this is the epitome of that which is not holy and not wholesome and not just and not the path of Allah. And again, to me, the grossest aspect of that is they're always so convinced that they're the moral ones and regular people doing regular things, living regular lives, just being happy are the immoral ones, that they murder people over it. They kill people. They do terrorist attacks. You would think that they were like, okay, pump your brakes a little bit here, fella. If you're so convinced that that's immoral, Well, wouldn't it be way more immoral to massacre little girls who were just out having a good time, enjoying their lives? They had their lives ahead of them. They could have done anything. They could have gone down so many different paths. They're not hurting anybody. They're not doing anything wrong. So there's always this mentality among, in this case, Muslim fundamentalists who think we are holier than thou by definition. So, when we literally take sex slaves, when we torture people, when we murder people, it is the moral thing to do. Only in a totally warped and brainwashed mentality can that be the case. And that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people who've totally drunk the Kool-Aid. We're dealing with literalists. We're dealing with people who have lost all contact with objective reality, and they view everything through the lens of, here are my rigid rules. Here's what I'm going to do in the service of my God. Well, I got news for you. If that's something your God would support, fuck your God. Your God is useless. Your God's a piece of shit. Your God supports the murder, the massacre of innocent little girls who just had the time of their life. So it's as bad as it gets, man. And I do find it disgusting that it was, the day before that we decided to give $110 billion worth of arms to Saudi Arabia. Now, let's be clear, we still don't even know exactly who the perpetrators were in this instance in terms of the names, so we don't have the backstory yet. But the reality is, and we've covered these stories endlessly, when we arm Saudi Arabia, they take many of those weapons. Well, some of them they just use to bomb Yemen nonstop and kill civilians and blockade the country and all that stuff. But a lot of those weapons, they funnel to Syria, to jihadists and Islamists on the ground to fight against the Syrian government. Well, the speculation so far in this instance is that in the article they bring up in the New York Times how there's like 400 to 600 fighters, rebels who just returned from Syria. And they said, intelligence agencies are stretched thin trying to keep up with the surveillance on the people who we know are people of interest, who were likely doing jihad in Syria. So think about that. $110 billion worth of weapons to Saudi Arabia. Many of those weapons and a lot of that money ends up funneling its way to jihadists in Syria. Also in Yemen, by the way. They arm Al-Qaeda on the ground. So you have our top ally who we keep backing, keep helping, keep giving weapons and money. They funnel it directly to the jihadists, and then jihadists infiltrate places like England, and they blow shit up. And then everybody afterwards comes out, oh man, tisk, this is terrible. What a horrible tragedy this is. Yes, but do something with policy to address it. If we cut off the arms and funding for Saudi Arabia, you probably see a gigantic drop overnight in the effect that jihadists can have, because they no longer have the weaponry that they need to carry out their barbaric attacks. I mean, also, as we've discussed, Saudi Arabia says, no, we're not going to take any Syrian refugees, but it's okay. All of you can go to Europe, and then we'll build Salafi mosques for you there. We're not going to take any, but we'll build the most extreme mosques possible and push you into Europe. And then, oh, wow, look at that. There was an attack in Europe. Yeah, because the fucking game is rigged. The way the rules are written right now, and the people who we arm and fund and give help to, I mean, it's unconscionable. So you want to cut back on attacks like this? We know the policy changes we have to make. Policy number one would be, okay, stop arming and funding Saudi Arabia. I'm not saying you got to go to war with them. Of course not. But you just, hey, let's have a more neutral relationship here. Maybe sanction them. But no, we're going to keep going down that path and keep funding worldwide jihad, and this is the result. The result is what appears to be a senseless act of violence. Because, hey, an Ariana Grande concert, little girls having fun. No, to the mind of a brainwashed Muslim fundamentalist, they go, no, I'm going to attack them because that is the symbol of all that is wrong. I think you're the symbol of all that is wrong.